Practice Monday. How'd they come back?
I'd like to have told you that they had a great practice Monday, but
Yeah.
it was just a practice. In fact, I'm looking at today and going to challenge them a little bit more to. I don't know. It just seemed lethargic to me. A little bit of still shock and awe, and not as energetic as I thought. That the quality of stuff was good, but hopefully we can get a little bit more of a positive atmosphere. Would be what I'm searching for today.
You guys had a couple decent road trips in a row. The Utah, Washington State, Caliber goes up here these next 2 weeks, maybe a little bit, but you guys two straight on the road to make it important for when you come back. You got to take care of some things on the road though first.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. They're critical series, and they would be had we won. But now we're kind of wanting to get back into the discussion about contenders and standings and all those kind of things. And I think when you have a belief that you should compete better, then you have that disappointment when you're all in and you're invested and all the stuff. We had some positive traction and things were going in the right direction, and we had some things happen that were unfortunate with Alstrom being out and so forth. And the good news is we got Goldie back, and hopefully we can find a way to get be a little more effective on the mound and get a chance to put something together here. But my point is, when you're invested a lot, then you go through a series like that. It's pretty hard to discard. Maybe it takes more than one practice to get back in the positive mindset. I don't want them to forget about it, certainly, but I want them to do the right thing about it.
Will Alstrom be back? Your
No, he's not going this weekend either. He's still sick. So.
Did you stick with Kafka, Stringer in the first two, and then TVA again?
That's where we're at right now, assuming that everybody gets through this week healthy and with no hiccups or anything like that. So,
What have you been able to see from Cal this season?
they're competitive. Certainly, they've played some of the upper echelon teams in the conference, including UCLA. They played them tough. That ballpark's a tough ballpark for us because of the dynamics of the way it plays compared to this, and it's more offensive, obviously. And they've got a pitcher that's going to be a very high draft in Horton. It's very difficult, and Coach New is a pitching guy, and he does a good job with all of his pitching staff. And then they got a guy named Bond that's a pretty good hitter, and amongst some other guys. But certainly that's the guy when he's coming up, and you hope he doesn't come up with a bunch of guys on base because he's a load to haul. Obviously, if not the best hitter in the country, on a short list of the best hitters in the country.
George, what was your reaction to that vote on Friday about the volunteer assistants? Disappointing?
Yeah, very disappointed. For the young people in our industry, the guys that have sacrificed so much here would be Mitch Carricker and doing a lot of different odd jobs to make a living, working camps and lessons and all the things to allow him to seek his career. And he's done such a tremendous job here. The one thing that when you pick up the phone to call somebody and recommend Coach Carrick or anybody else in his role, typically the coach wants to know about his recruiting prowesses, and he can't recruit. So it becomes a very difficult stepping stone for those guys to get a paid assistant job at the Division I level. Most of us want a solid recruiter. It might not be the recruiting coordinator or the key guy, but everybody does their lion's share of recruiting. So I know it was a mixed vote across the country. It's kind of sad for me that the athletic directors, the ones that voted no, decided that when from the chairs that we sit in, our sport is the most underrepresented and the most restrictions on and the highest degree of difficulty with the draft, yet they continue to say no to having that third assistant or four coaches, and the ratio of coach per athlete is the worst. The ratio of grant money per athlete is the worst. We have tremendous support here. Our administration supported that initiative. But the fact that some of those that voted no will be in somebody's house down the road asking for money to build facilities from baseball guys that play in the major leagues, and yet they continue to turn their back on them. If I was that major league player, I'd say no thanks. Maybe you should go to football or basketball or some of the sports that they're representing. I get it, it's an arms race and there's not endless money for the athletic directors or colleges across the country because of the growing salaries in the revenue sports. But anyway, ultimately very disappointed. I just don't know how they could justify a no vote with our position, quite frankly.
There was some discussion about softball being included in that kind of at the last minute, and then some discussion about, do you create an extra position or do you just make the volunteer that third full-time assistant? I don't know how closely you looked at the actual legislation, but did you feel like the way it was written it was okay, or is there an argument for let's come back and write this little?
Yeah, I don't know what our plan is. You know, we have a director of our association, Craig Kylitz. He's an athletic director, and I don't know what our plan is. I certainly think the plan initially, when they proposed the legislation, they thought, my assumption is that they probably thought including softball in the legislation probably gave us a better chance. And what I'm hearing is it gave us a worse chance. And then across the country, you don't have to fund that third position, you know. You can say no, which is another reason that we thought we had a strong position, is it didn't require money, and it wasn't restricted earnings coach like years ago in baseball where there could be a potential lawsuit or something like that. But so what we thought would work in our favor actually sounded like it worked against us, because they didn't want to double up the potential revenue stream going to softball and baseball. So who'd have thunk it? And you kind of go scratch your head. Now what do we need to do? Propose a legislation that doesn't include softball? I don't know. They're different sports. They always get paired together. Softball certainly has some things that we don't, and vice versa. And they have. Anyway, it's up to them to fight their own battle and justification of whether they need that third assistant coach. It's as you know, a different roster size, different amount of pitchers. I don't look at it as the same sport. I have great respect for what the ladies are doing out there across the country in all sports. But so, who am I to say don't give it to them and give it to us? You know. But again, we always get looked at as the same sport. So.
Nowitzki down, a couple 4-hit games coming up for you. You like kind of what he's giving you in that leadoff spot?
Yeah, he's been very consistent. You know, even when he wasn't getting a lot of hits, he makes a pitcher work. He grinds through at bats. He does what a leadoff hitter is supposed to do: make a pitcher pitch and throw a lot of pitches, and he gets on base a lot. So he's done a really good job filling that leadoff spot out for me.
What's been the message to the players this week in practice, coming off of the sweep going into Cal?
Well, we really don't have much choice of feeling. You know, if you're sitting around in athletics feeling sorry for yourself, people are going to pass you up. You know, and so whether we'd been successful or not, it's certainly easier to motivate them yesterday and today. But practice more detailed. I wouldn't say practice harder, because they always give us the best effort, but more detailed and then more predictably allowing us to play as well as we can play. We got mauled, you know, there's no question about it. We got out-pitched and out-hit, and the only thing we did at the same level was play catch and play defense. And so when you only get one of the three, you're potentially going to get beat pretty good. And when the hitting piece for them was with power and consistency, then that's where the mauling comes in. So get to the next practice, be positive, be energized, and instead of talking about or showing disappointment, let's do the right thing about it. Let's get better and go down to Cal and see if we can do some good.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, Coach.